but I'll yield there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cow.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Fu, I'm very much interested in the religious freedom aspects in China. In 1994, I actually went into China as a Jesuit seminarian and visited some of the works of the Society of Jesus in the southern province of Guangzhou. And I'm curious with respect to the increase in religious persecution as you outlined in China Aid report. The level, the increase, what was the reason for the increase in persecution? Is it because they want to make China look good for the Beijing Olympics to suppress any possible protests, or what is the reason for the increase in persecution? Or is it a personal agenda of the president of China?
Thank you for asking that question. Yes, I mean, even those peaceful worshippers, when they were raided, when they were arrested, when they were chained, they also asked that question. These are the really law-obedient, good citizens, and then why the Chinese government has to round them up and when they are worshiping in their own homes. And but one thing, of course, first of all, the persecution, the level of persecution, degree of persecution is different even in different provinces or different times. As you mentioned, the pre-Olympics, the Chinese government has launched the pre-Olympics cleanup campaign in Beijing. Even those who are usually tolerated, the city or urban house churches were raided. And so that's had a temporary effect. But in general, any organization or perceived groups that are independent of the official government sanctioned groups or independent of any of the total control of the Chinese government is regarded as a threat to the Chinese government. And thus they are subject for repression and persecution. And because the rapid growth of those independent house church members, of course, and other independent faith groups, the Chinese government took them, instead of peacemakers or stabilizers, they wrongly put them in a category of destabilizers, or some simply because they have fellowship with like visiting American, Christians, foreigners, and they were labeled as penetrating or collaborating with the foreign anti-China forces, and in a political label. And so that was a clearly misunderstanding to the list. And of course, it was determined by the nature of tyranny, and that is still, the current, the nature of the Chinese current government. So yeah, the persecution is still going on, and there are still hundreds of thousands of prisoners. Actually, 2 days ago, I received a phone call in Xinjiang, this past Sunday, 12 Christian house church members were jailed in the early morning of May 31st.
Do you know the exact number of prisoners in the, I guess, because of religious issues?
It's hard to, again, to give the exact number.
Because you stated hundreds of thousands. I was
it should be hundreds of thousands, if not, million. And there, I know in the in one prison in Henan province, and one, I heard from a prisoner who was released. He said 1/3 of the whole prison camp are the faith-related in that big labor camp. Yeah.
Now, are these camps, are they re-education camps similar to what Vietnam had right after Saigon, where people are being brainwashed to not continue with their faith, or well, what kind of camps are these about?
They are called re-education through labor camp. They're like the Laogai camp, like Gulag camp. We recently received report, one house church pastor, Pastor Shu Wenxiang from Henan prison, who was sentenced to 1 year re-education through labor last December, has been, he's over 70 years old, has to work 13 hours a day in that labor camp, despite his weak health. And they were forced to work to fulfill a quota, to make products like, soccer balls for, like the carpets for exportation. They are making all kinds of products for basically free of work, of labor.
Now, have you seen a decrease in religious persecution since the Olympic Games, or how has the number been?
The number shows that actually there's an increase so far.
Since the Olympic Games?
Since the Olympics. Yeah.
And I'm curious with respect to the Cardinal Kong prisoner list, where there are a number of Catholic bishops and Catholic priests who are imprisoned in the camps. And their reasons for imprisonment, do you know their reasons for imprisonment?
Their reasons, the main reason is because they refuse to surrender themselves to be under the total control of the so-called government patriotic Catholic Association, a government-sanctioned organization. And instead, they want to follow their faith according to the biblical teaching. Yeah.
Okay. That's all the questions I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I just have a couple of last questions. Mr. Feng Zhang,